Well, Mr Chairman, it's a bit rich hearing the Labor Party go on about affordable housing, because under their policies, housing became less affordable than it's ever been. And the reason that the government got rid of this, used Part 4 to repeal the Affordable Housing Enabling Territorial Authorities Act, it was because it was a nonsense. We had a government that was running policies driving housing to the most expensive levels ever relative to people's incomes, and then they thought, the way we'll fix that problem is pass a law telling local authorities they have to have affordable housing. And that, I think, summed up the end of, and this was in the tail end of their time as government, and summed up the vague, wishful and incompetent policy making that government applied to the housing area. The measure of affordability of housing is a ratio between the average value of houses and the average wage. And under Labor's watch, that that went up. So, in fact, in some cases, it almost doubled, where it showed that for the average person, actually, home ownership became unaffordable. Not affordable, unaffordable. And Labor needs to learn that saying something should be affordable doesn't make it affordable. What would make it affordable would be sensible policies that stop driving up interest rates, tax policies that stop driving up house prices unnecessarily and pushing people into excessive borrowing, resource management policies that prevented local governments constraining the supply of land so much that you drive up the price of land quite considerably. And the interesting thing is that actually Labor knew most of this, because they committed considerable resources to housing affordability. It's just that all the results of a year-long working party across the whole government was a silly provision that said we achieve affordable housing by passing a law that says local government has to have affordable housing. There were simple issues with the legislation, like what's affordable. Why have a piece of legislation where the key term, affordable, is not able to be defined or understood by anybody? For the most normal people in the street, affordable housing is the one they would have liked to buy. They couldn't quite borrow enough money and didn't have quite a big enough deposit to get it. So it was an unworkable provision. It was a triumph of incompetent wishful thinking over and above reality. It was a hope by the previous government that they'd be able to use legislation, aspirational legislation, to fix what is fundamentally a microeconomic and policy problem. So that's why we got rid of it. And what has happened around housing affordability, well, what's happened is it started to improve. And surprise, surprise, some more sensible policies that put a bit less pressure on interest rates actually are starting to turn around what is still, in fact, I saw a table the other day of international rankings of affordability. We have one of the most expensive housing markets in the world compared to wages. One of the most expensive. So that's the legacy that Labor left when they said they wanted more affordable housing. They took us from middle of the pack to one of the most expensive housing markets in the world. I don't mean the developed world or the OECD, I mean in the whole world. So for New Zealanders, the mountain they have to climb to home ownership is now steeper and higher than it ever was, and that is why we got rid of that provision, because it's time we got rid of the muddled thinking about the affordability of housing, that we took seriously the New Zealand dream to own your own home and actually implemented concrete policies to bring that about, and that's what we are doing.
I'm sorry to interrupt the The Minister. Time has come for me to report progress.
The House is resumed, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on the Infrastructure Bill reports progress. Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the report be adopted.
The question is that the report be adopted. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. This bill is set down for further consideration in committee next sitting day. And the House stands adjourned until 2 p.m. on Tuesday the 27th of July 2010.